My name is Teresa Myers. I'm 34 years old, and the moment I stood up from that dinner table smiling, everyone in the room understood something had just shifted for good. Because my husband had just announced in front of both our families that his mother was moving into my house. Not our house, my house. The one my parents spent 20 years saving to buy for me. The one with my maiden name on the deed. The one he had no legal claim to, no matter how many times he tried to say otherwise. And somehow, without asking me, he had already given his mother a key, given her a bedroom, and funneled $23,000 of our money into her account through a fake company. He looked at me like he expected me to smile and go along with it. What happened next cost him his marriage, his mother's plan, and his sister's access to the free ride they all thought would last forever. But to understand that dinner, I have to take you back 6 months. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories, where we talk about family boundaries and those moments that reveal exactly who people are. If this story hits home for you, leave a comment and subscribe. I'm a nurse practitioner at Carilion Roanoke Memorial Hospital in Virginia. I work 3 12-hour night shifts a week, sometimes more when staffing gets tight. I love my job. I'm good in chaos. I know how to stay calm when everyone else is falling apart. But being the calm one at work meant I became the calm one everywhere else too. At home I handled everything. Bills, groceries, meal prep, appointments, car maintenance, insurance paperwork. If something needed attention, I took care of it. For a long time, I told myself that meant I was capable, strong, reliable. What I didn't realize was that I had slowly become the only adult fully running the household. My husband, Grant, worked as a regional sales manager for a building materials company. He made good money, had steady hours, and could charm just about anyone in 5 minutes flat. He was one of those men who could walk into a room full of strangers and leave with invitations to lunch. I married him at 28. He was 30. The first year felt easy, peaceful. The kind of marriage that makes you believe you chose well. And then there was the house. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, quiet neighborhood just south of Roanoke, a maple tree in the front yard, and a little back patio where I used to drink coffee before sunrise. It wasn't just property to me. It was security. It was a gift built out of my parents' sacrifice. My father, Warren Howren, worked as a plumber for 35 years. Not the owner of some big company. I'm talking about the kind of man who crawled under houses at daybreak with a flashlight in his teeth, and came home smelling like pipe glue and sweat. My mother, June, worked a Kroger register for 22 years. They were never wealthy. They were disciplined. Every extra dollar went into savings. 2 weeks before my wedding, they sat me down at their kitchen table. My dad slid a manila envelope toward me. Inside was the deed to that house, paid in full. The deed was in my maiden name, Teresa June Howren. There was also a notarized gift letter that made one thing crystal clear. The property was being given solely to me as my separate property. My mother cried. My father looked me dead in the eye and said, "This is yours, not his, not anybody else's. Keep the paper safe." At the time I thought he was being overly cautious. He wasn't. In the beginning, Grant was easy to adore. He remembered details. He knew my coffee order, my favorite song from nursing school, the foods I hated. He sent flowers to the hospital on my birthday. He called my parents' mom and dad not long after we started dating. But charm only carries a person so far when it isn't backed by character. By our 2nd year of marriage, I noticed that every meaningful decision somehow had to pass through his mother, Vivian. If she called, he answered. If we were discussing vacation dates, he wanted to check whether they worked for her first. If we were buying furniture, he wanted her opinion. When I gently pointed that out, he reacted like I had attacked him. "She's my mother, Teresa." That was Grant's answer for everything. Then Vivian started visiting almost every weekend. First, I didn't mind. She brought banana bread. She helped with dishes. She was pleasant enough. But after the third weekend in a row, I realized something. Grant never asked me. He just informed me. "Mom's coming Friday." One day I told him plainly, "I'd appreciate being asked before people stay in my house." He frowned and said, "She doesn't need an invitation." That was the first real crack. Vivian was 63, retired from working as a dental receptionist, and she carried the same heartbreak everywhere she went. More than 2 decades earlier, her husband had left her, and in the divorce she lost almost everything, including the family home. Grant had been 12. His sister Courtney had been 5. I knew the story because Vivian told it often. Every Thanksgiving, every family gathering. It was the wound that she never let heal. And over time, I began to realize she didn't just grieve the house she lost. She felt entitled to another one. By year 3 of my marriage, she had started behaving like my home was an extension of her preferences. She criticized the wall color, suggested cabinet changes, rearranged things. One day I came home and found she had replaced my living room curtains with cream lace ones she'd bought herself. Grant dismissed it. "She's just trying to help." Then one afternoon while we were alone in the kitchen, Vivian said the quiet part out loud. "You married into this family. The house came with you." I set down the dish towel and told her calmly, "No, the house didn't come with anyone. My parents bought it for me." She just smiled and walked away. That wasn't a misunderstanding. That was a worldview. Grant's sister Courtney was worse in a different way. She was careless, entitled, and treated boundaries like suggestions. She'd come over unannounced, eat whatever she wanted, leave messes behind, wander through rooms like she lived there. One day I came home and found her in my office with her feet up on my desk scrolling her phone. I called Grant immediately. He said, "It's our house, Teresa. Stop acting like it's only yours." So I put a keyed lock on my office door. He told me I was turning the house into a fortress. I told him to stop giving people access they hadn't earned. A few weeks later, after a brutal stretch at work, I came home and found the guest room transformed. Different bedding, a lamp I hadn't bought, a framed photo of Grant and Vivian on the dresser. Vivian's clothes were hanging in the closet. Grant had quietly turned the guest room into his mother's room. When I confronted him, he called me a landlord instead of a wife. A few days after that, I opened the mail and found a locksmith receipt. Grant had made copies of the house key and given one to Vivian without telling me. So I changed every lock on the house. When Vivian showed up and couldn't get in, she called Grant in a panic. He looked at me and I said exactly what needed saying. "If she wants to come over, she can knock." For the first time in months, I felt something close to peace in my own home. But Grant wasn't the kind of man who backed down cleanly. 2 weeks later, he brought home a smart lock. On the surface, it sounded reasonable. No more physical keys, everything managed through an app. I agreed on one condition. I would be the primary administrator, and no one got access without my approval. He agreed. What I didn't realize was that he still had enough admin rights to add users without notifying me. And while I was exhausted from picking up extra shifts at the hospital, He took advantage of that. Vivian called me one morning, soft-voiced and emotional, talking about loneliness, aging, cold winters, and how she didn't want to spend the rest of her life alone in an apartment. I listened. I truly did. Then I told her, "You're welcome to visit, but this home has one owner and it's me. If you want, I'll help you look into senior communities or housing options." The sweetness vanished instantly. She snapped, hung up, and Grant came home late that night smelling like her air freshener. Then came the Saturday she arrived carrying an old shoebox full of photographs from the house she lost years ago. She showed me pictures of a colonial with green shutters and a porch swing. She talked about painting every room herself. She talked about the day she had to leave. And for one moment I truly felt sorry for her. Then she looked at me and said, "So you understand? Don't be selfish, Teresa." That's when I understood her pain wasn't making her humble. It was fueling her entitlement. Soon after that, I came home one morning after a shift and found Courtney asleep on my couch, my laptop moved out of my office, my food eaten, my house used like a crash pad. I checked the smart lock app Grant had given Courtney access. I removed her immediately, then removed Grant's admin privileges too. That's when the emotional pressure campaign started. Grant accused me of humiliating his family, said my parents had poisoned me against them, called me controlling. Then, without discussion, he stopped transferring his share of the monthly household money into our joint account. I noticed because I track everything. So, I sat down with months of statements and started reading. That's when I found the pattern. Beginning in January, money had been leaving our joint account in recurring payments to a business called Myers Home Solutions. The amounts were large, thousands at a time, supposedly for home improvements. But no work had been done. No roof repairs, no refinished floors, no plumbing jobs. I searched the business name and found a Virginia LLC filing. Registered agent Grant A. Myers. That night I said nothing. I made dinner. I let him talk. And after he went to bed, I searched for divorce attorneys in Roanoke. A few days later, while he was away for work, I unlocked the bottom drawer of his desk in the guest room. Inside were LLC documents, a checkbook, and a bank statement from a credit union account in Vivian's name. There it was. Every fake invoice from the joint account had been transferred into her savings account. Total $23,400. I photographed everything, put it all back exactly where I found it, and went to work. The next day, I met with a family law attorney named Ellen Park. I brought the deed, the gift letter, the bank statements, and the photos. She reviewed everything, then looked at me and said, "The house is your separate property. He has no claim to it." Then she gave me the name of a forensic accountant, Sandra Okafor. Sandra traced every dollar. Not only the $23,400 in fake invoices, but another $6,200 in debt tied to a credit card Grant had opened under the LLC's name. Charges for furniture, electronics, and a storage unit. None of it had anything to do with our home. By the end of it, the truth was documented in a 14-page report. That same week, Grant sat down at the kitchen table and told me his mother's lease was ending. He said he wanted her to move in permanently, not asked, wanted. And then he smiled and said she had already started packing. I kept my face neutral and said, "Then let's discuss it at dinner with both families there." He thought I was agreeing. What he didn't know was that my attorney had already drafted the divorce papers, the motion to preserve my home as separate property, and the filing plan for Monday morning. So Saturday came. I cleaned the house, set the table, cooked Vivian's favorite meal, and waited. Vivian arrived carrying her good china. Courtney showed up with overnight bags because apparently she thought we were celebrating. My parents arrived quietly, my father carrying the original deed and gift letter. Dinner was strangely pleasant, almost cheerful. Then after coffee, Grant stood up, tapped his glass, and made his big announcement. He said his mother would be moving in with us permanently. He talked about rearranging the study for her. He welcomed Courtney anytime. He even said he'd already ordered new keys. Then he looked at me and smiled. "Right, babe." I stood up. I took the folder from behind my chair, set it on the table, and opened it. First, I held up the deed and explained that the house belonged solely to Teresa June Howren. Then I read the gift letter out loud. My father confirmed every word. Grant's smile disappeared. Then I took out Sandra's report. I went through the fake invoices one by one. Roof repairs that never happened. Floor work that never happened. Plumbing work my father had done himself for free. Then I said the number out loud. $23,400. And then I looked straight at Vivian and said every dollar had been traced to her savings account. The room went dead silent. Grant tried to bluster, said I had gone through his things, said I was overreacting. But once I said the words forensic accountant and divorce court, the whole performance started collapsing. Then Courtney made it worse for him by blurting out that he had asked her to sign something for the LLC too. Vivian turned on me furious. But I asked her one simple question. What exactly has your family done for me? No one had an answer. That's when I told them I was filing for divorce Monday morning. Grant panicked, said we could fix it, said I was tearing the family apart. I told him the truth. I would never trust him again. Then I looked at Vivian and said something I had needed to say for months. I told her I was sorry for what she had lost years ago. Truly. But losing her house did not give her the right to take mine. My parents had worked decades for that home, and she and her son had tried to take it with guilt, access, lies, and stolen money. Grant lost it completely. He screamed, said I was destroying everything. Then he grabbed a wine glass and threw it at the wall behind me. It shattered and red wine ran down the white paint. I didn't flinch. I just told him, "It's over." Vivian gathered up her china with shaking hands, dropped a plate on the tile, and told me I'd regret this. I told her I wouldn't. Then they left. The house went quiet. My mother asked if I was okay. I told her I would be. My father knelt down and started picking up the broken china from my kitchen floor. My mother joined him. Neither said much. They just helped the way they always had. Monday morning, right at 8:30, I filed. Grant was served at work the next day. His lawyer quickly realized he had no real argument over the house. The deed was clean. The gift letter was clean. I had kept taxes and insurance separate. The house was never truly in danger once the paperwork came out. The divorce process took time because Virginia requires separation, but the outcome was clear. We signed a separation agreement. The forensic report went before the court. Grant was ordered to reimburse $23,400 from his share of remaining assets. The $6,200 LLC debt was assigned solely to him. Vivian had to return $15,000. The rest had already been withdrawn and was written off in settlement. 9 months later, the divorce was final. I kept the house. I kept my career. I kept the maple tree my father planted in the front yard. Grant ended up moving into Vivian's apartment, the exact kind of life she had been trying to escape by pushing into mine. The first weekend after he was gone, the house felt quiet in a clean, honest way. I stripped Vivian's bedding off the guest bed and donated it. I put my own sheets back on. I took down the lace curtains she had chosen and rehung the navy ones my mother and I had picked out together. I opened the Smart Lock app, removed every other user, changed the master code, and made myself sole administrator again. One user, one code, one home. Then I went to the garden center, bought marigolds and planted them along the front walk. My father said my grandmother always planted marigolds because they kept the bugs away and made the house look loved. When I finished, I took a picture of the house and texted it to my dad with 4 words. Kept it, Dad. An hour later, he sent back a thumbs up and 1 word. Good. And that was enough. What I learned from all of this is simple. A home is not just a building. It's a boundary. It's the space around your peace, your labor, your history, and your dignity. And if you don't protect it, someone else will decide they're entitled to it. My parents didn't just give me a house. They gave me a foundation, a paper trail, and a lesson I will never forget. Know what's yours. Keep it documented. And never apologize for defending it. That's my story. 1 dinner table, 1 manila folder, and 1 house that stayed exactly where it belonged. If this reminded you to check your deed, protect your separate property, or trust your instincts when something feels off, take it as your sign. Leave a comment if you've ever had to defend what should have already been yours, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next story.